we've been gone for so long.
Sorry, guys.
We're sorry. Life, as most people can tell you, gets away from you or ahead of you, and things that are completely unexpected happen. Like, nothing too terrible. Echo was just really busy one week, and then I was like, okay, we missed one podcast. That's fine.
Yeah.
We have to get back on it. And then I went and got sick.
Yeah. Work was insane.
Yeah, it's
And
just,
and I got boyfriend now.
it's just, it's been a mix of stuff, you guys. Like, we're sorry.
We're gonna try to do better.
We are. I was waiting on Echo to get her research done because we promised you guys Annabelle this round. And I didn't want to be all like, well, here's a filler while we wait on Annabelle.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like it would have thrown things off if we're being, like, serious.
I don't remember what state this was in, but just earlier I was watching The Late Show with Stephen Colbert with my parents, as one does, and apparently this library in some state, I can't remember what state because my short-term memory is garbage. At some library in a state, they have been finding random potatoes, random baked potatoes on their lawn. And the term they used was potatoes gathering on the lawn. And I think that's a little strong for two potatoes found on their lawn.
They were blessed by the baked potato gods, I guess.
Yeah, apparently. It's like the
They were
potato version of the monolith thing.
pretty much. I tell you what, if nothing else, TikTok has honestly probably made this podcast more entertaining because Echo and I end up streaming TikTok for stuff. Of course, we send each other stuff that doesn't relate to anything about this. But there is
Yeah.
a gentleman who recreated what he imagined Annabelle breaking out of her glass cage was. Like, when that whole scare went on that
Mhm.
Annabelle had broke out. Like, he got in the Annabelle dress and then he's like calling the devil and being all like, yo, I broke out. And then, the priest comes in and throws holy water at. It was a whole ordeal. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, Echo will love this. And
It was so funny.
and then Echo ended up sending me this week a TikTok that is inspiring, I think, next week's topic because you send me something weird and
Oh yeah,
from that comes greatness.
absolutely.
Or whatever you want to call this podcast. Greatness is a strong term, I guess.
Spooky nonsense is what I call
Spooky
us.
nonsense, yes. Where was that tagline when we needed one?
Oh,
We're spooky nonsense, exactly.
yes. Well, I hope everyone has been well. And
Oh,
are we ready for? Oh,
well, it kind of pertains to what we're going to talk about.
okay.
So, have I said that my house is haunted on here? Like, I think I've said that.
I don't know if you've straight up said it, but I think you've mentioned that there's been
Okay.
weird stuff going on in your
So,
house.
like, it's not unusual for me to deal with, like, weird, spooky bullcrap that happens in houses because for some reason I find the houses. It's like this whole ordeal, let me tell you. But I was sitting at my computer, just happily watching my true crime stuff this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, as one does. And by as one does, I mean me. While I'm eating my breakfast, which is not a normal breakfast, but that's not the point. And I hear two thuds coming from what sounds like upstairs. They're not like extreme thuds. Like, I'm not gonna lie and say like they were like bang, bang, bang. But but the first one makes me turn my head and go like this, which I don't know why I had to like show you guys. You can't see it. But anyway, so I like turned over my shoulder and like looked at the stairs door because like we have a door on our stairway and I look at it like, okay, what the heck? And then I hear, by we I mean me and one of the cats that was in the kitchen, in the dining room. We hear another like slight bang from that direction, and my cat Rumple, who was sitting like next to me, who didn't alert to the first noise, his head just went whoop towards the staircase and was like staring up at the door, and I'm like, okay, yeah, nope. Look at that. I'm going to go heat up the car. Like,
Oh, would you look at that? It's leave a clock.
normally I wouldn't let it like get to me to the point that I have to leave. But when it's upstairs and where I sit in the morning has my back to the stairs, I'm like, yeah, okay, not okay. But the little ghost that likes to pull the movies out hasn't pulled the movies out since I've moved the kids' DVDs up a shelf, which is like beyond me. It I'm like, I figured it would pull out, steal whatever was on the bottom shelf because that's only the ever. And let me tell you guys, I have like walked up and like full on shook this DVD bookshelf thing. Nothing happens. I mean, if nothing slides out in the way that they were, and if anything does, it's like a whole entire shelf, and it's because I'm literally like rocking it back and forth. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but yeah, but that reminded me, the topic reminded me of it because I'm supposed to eventually go get that tote with my dolls in it, and I'm just all like, if I bring porcelain dolls over and put them upstairs, like to like store them,
Yeah.
would I possibly catch a ghost in a porcelain doll?
You have to give them permission to enter the doll.
Okay.
So just don't give them permission.
But what if I want to give them permission, right? Right, and put them in a glass box. Hear me out. And then make hundreds of dollars on Etsy selling a haunted doll because that's a thing. Did you know that's a thing? Did you guys know that's a thing? Like
I did
legitimately, we're
not.
talking about haunted dolls. Etsy, eBay, all that shit. You can like sell a haunted doll and get like money.
I thought it was I thought it was illegal to sell a haunted doll on eBay now.
It might be on eBay, but you know what? I'm not feeding false information. Give me 2 seconds. I'll tell you what made me make that face in a second. I went to type in buy haunted doll, and buy haunted meat was a suggestion. No, legitimately. Active spirit haunted doll. Active spirit haunted doll. This is eBay right now. Haunted doll paranormal activity spirit. Some of these dolls are creepy AF. Haunted doll, haunted doll. Okay, okay. For the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, a lot of them, the bids are like 20, $30. There's some that have 60. Uh, I'm willing to bet ones that have videos and I'm gonna uh this one gives Robert the doll a run for his money on being scary looking. Like you can tell it's handmade, but it's creepy AF. Let me just tell you. But yeah, no. They usually run about $30, $40. But yeah, no, that's a thing. And I'm pretty sure it was on Etsy too. Hold on. I'm not endorsing this, by the way. Don't you dare go out and buy a haunted doll, or I'm gonna
It's a
show
bad
up.
idea.
I'm gonna show up and yeet it from your house. Oh, they go for way, way more on Etsy, man. 75, 140, 99. There's a mystery box. Mystery box haunted doll.
Oh, God.
Why? Mystery box your next curse right to your front door. Why the fuck not? So we're talking about Annabelle, and I'm like kind of excited.
Yes.
And before like you get too much into it, can I share my favorite like Annabelle like TV thing? Please?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. I think you said go for it because you know exactly what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm
So
pretty sure I know exactly what this is.
Echo and I were watching this with my mom because like I hadn't seen it and Echo hadn't seen it. And my mom's all like, "Did you know Ghost Adventures got to meet Annabelle?" And I'm like, "No. Why didn't I know about this? Like, why didn't you tell me?" She's like, "It just happened the other day. We'll watch it." I'm like, "Okay." And so we're sitting there watching it, and they have like they're going through all the rules. You're not allowed to touch her. You're not allowed to do this or that. And all that stuff. And they got her sitting on a chair. And they were in Zach's museum, right?
Yeah, they brought it to Zach's museum.
And so there's Annabelle sitting on this chair. And Zach just keeps going, for some reason, I want to touch her. I want to touch her. And the guy's like, no, I was very
Do
specific.
not touch her.
Yeah, you cannot touch her. And then Zach's all like, but I want to touch her. And then the doll kept going, foot, 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 like through one
Yeah,
of their machines.
yeah, those like paranormal puck or whatever it is.
And I might be like exaggerating slightly because I haven't seen it in
Yeah.
a while. But like, oh my god. And then
Foot, touch foot, foot,
touch foot.
touch foot.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you kind of like see Zach in like one of the quickest movements, like knock her foot.
And they caught it on like thermal cam too. And
And we're just
you could see the little heat mark from his fingers on her foot.
and we're just sitting there like, ah!
We're like, God damn it, Zach!
Yeah, no shit.
You had one job. You had one job.
You had one job and you fucked it.
Oh,
And
shoot.
like, if you guys could see our faces right now while we were explaining this shit, you guys would have a good laugh because we get so like animated. And I think a lot of mine is starting to come from streaming. So like I need to calm it down probably. But like we were just all like, did that bitch just do that?
Uh-huh. Like,
Yeah.
I think my legitimate response was no.
I think literally I verbally said he touched the foot.
Yep. He touched the goddamn
And I don't know why, but for some reason that just tickled us to death forever. And I think it was because it was just like egging him on to touch its foot. Like Annabelle was egging him on to touch the foot, and he did it. And I'm just like, like, why would you do like you know?
You were very specifically told the rules.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so also, Scarlett, did
Yes.
you ever watch the Annabelle movies? Because I have never seen them.
Okay, I have one of them, and I have like slight issue with it.
Yeah.
First off, like I understand the creative choice. Okay, like I'm not gonna lie, I
Yeah.
understand more than anything the creative choice to go with a porcelain doll because to a lot of people that's a lot creepier
Yeah.
than a stuffed doll, and they could make it. Maybe with the stuffed doll, they were worried about it looking like too comical, it doing the
Yeah.
stuff it was doing or whatever. So I'm usually okay with slight variations, and
Mhm.
all that. But my issue is they went with like a really off-putting porcelain doll. And not
Yeah.
all porcelain dolls are that off-putting.
Yeah.
I think it
Most
would
of
have
them
been
look more natural.
yeah, I
Porcelain
think it
dolls.
would have been like a better decision overall if they would have just went with a more natural plain looking porcelain doll. Like
Yeah.
obviously, kind of go for, you know, the try to match it up kind of to the same time setting as, the Raggedy Ann type doll that's actually Annabelle.
Yeah.
Like, the same timing for when that doll probably would have been made. But like that whole big I don't know. I had an issue with it. And then the movies just to me just seem over commercialized.
Yeah.
But a lot of things like that happen when stuff gets popularized by media.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just I'm not a big fan of them, but they're not bad. Okay, like the Conjuring movies, I liked that a whole lot more than
Yeah.
the Annabelle movies that are associated with it.
Mhm.
And even those, like, if we're being honest, weren't all the greatest.
Yeah.
I really wish that they would come out with a more historically correct version of Ed and Lorraine and like what their life actually was like.
Yeah.
Uh, Instead of just like this over commercialized piece of
Yeah. The
pulp
dramatized
culture
version
that we
of
have.
their
Yeah.
the
And I mean, there's
dramatized version
nothing
of their
wrong
life.
with the dramatized versions and stuff like that, uh, or anything. But and for being like original horror movies and not remakes. At the time they were made, remakes were becoming like a really big thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, you have to give like precedence to the fact that they made something original, I guess, in a way that was inspired off of true events. But I always have an issue when they make over dramatic paranormal horror movies off of true events.
Yeah, that totally makes
But that's me. And like
yeah,
I said, there's nothing wrong with the movie. It's just off-putting to me.
yeah.
Um, and there was like a whole bunch of suspense for no reason. I feel like with the Annabelle movie, but again, and I haven't seen like everything that's stuck together with.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to make sure that you had seen it and kind of knew what the story of the movies was, because after I read you what's supposed to be the true story of Annabelle's origins, you could tell me how it compares to the movies.
Oh, I'm not probably gonna remember because it's been such a
Oh, that's
while since
fine.
I've seen it. But
But I'm going to tell you guys what I found to be like the true version of the story of Annabelle. And I got my information from a YouTube channel called The Paranormal Scholar, and the title is Annabelle the Doll: The Origins, and it's a 20-minute documentary. Um, but this all began in 1970 when Deirdre Bernard received a Raggedy Ann doll for her 25th birthday from her mother. And like she had like just moved into her own apartment. I think she had one roommate and roommate had a boyfriend. So those are the three characters that we're dealing with. Do not remember what roommate's name was, but the roommate's boyfriend name was Calvin. So her mom had given her this doll because she wanted it to kind of brighten up the apartment.
mhm.
Because, Raggedy Ann, it's cute, it's kind of playful,
Yeah,
it's a nice little doll.
and a lot of versions that I read about like the whole origin story was
Hmm.
that for some reason when the mom was shopping, she was like drawn to this doll, and she felt in some way that it reminded her of her daughter and that her daughter needed the doll. Certain things will call out to certain people for whatever reason, energies or whatever you want to believe in. Because I don't want to call anybody like weak minded because that's not really what it is. I'm trying to think of like the proper way to say it.
Like susceptible.
Like yeah, like there's always this thing with paranormal stuff in general, stuff that sets it off. People that are more like susceptible are uh the young, the sick, and the elderly, and it's because you know there a lot of them are drawn to children because for whatever reason. A lot of them are drawn to sick people because it said, especially those that are terminal, because it says
Hmm.
they're the closest to being on both sides,
Yeah, that makes sense.
both the spirit world and in this world. And it's the same with the elderly. A
Yeah.
lot of them are very close to being, they're like the middle ground, basically,
Hmm.
for, being both alive and closer to death,
Yeah.
closer to the spirit world, wanna, however you want to put it. And the thing is a lot of people will write off elderly people because now we have things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
have all those terms. So even if they were experiencing something, somebody's just going to be like, well,
Yeah, okay, Grandma.
do you think a ghost told your Grammy to put the pizza in her eggplant parmesan?
I'm I am absolutely sure that the ghost of my dear departed Grampy was just like, Nancy, honey, do get rid of this pizza. Put it on your eggplant parmesan. That'll get rid of it.
Oh, we like to joke about Echo's Grammy because she is just something else.
I love her, but she is so bonkers, and it's only getting worse. Oh goodness. But anyway, back to the story. So every morning Deirdre would place the doll on her bed with its arms and legs stretched out in a relaxed sort of pose. Um, and after just a few days, she began to notice something strange. When she would come back to her room in the evenings after attending college and studying and doing her classes and all that, um, the doll's limbs would be in different positions. Sometimes arms would be crossed, sometimes legs would be crossed, and sometimes the doll would seem to be pointing at something. And not too long after that, the doll would seem to move to different rooms of its own accord. And everyone that lived in in the apartment with Deirdre, they began to feel quite unsettled by the Raggedy. One night, Deirdre returned home with her roommate and her roommate's boyfriend to find that the doll was kneeling in a chair facing the door, even though she had left the doll as usual on her bed.
That's an unsettling position for a doll in general.
Especially a rag doll.
Yeah.
Rag dolls cannot hold a position.
No, and the best way to describe it, if you guys haven't seen a Raggedy Ann, um, think about, teddy bears are made to sit up.
Hmm.
Most teddy bears are made to sit up. Rag dolls are more like kind of like the stuffed fabricy toys that you would like give a small child, like a rabbit or whatever, where
Yeah.
their legs are very like I'm pretty sure almost everyone knows what a rag doll is. But the fact that it would be kneeling, because kneeling puts in the fact that not only was it holding its weight in a specific way, that those fabric legs were bent,
Yes.
where they would have had a hard time. Okay, because if you think about it logically, because of the cotton, and unless there are wires, because some people that make their own rag dolls will put wires
Hmm.
in there so that the arms and legs can be bent to stay in specific positions. Only reason I know this is because my grandma used to make a lot of stuffed animals when she was alive, and she didn't do it, but it was definitely something that people would talk about. I've like heard about it. But this is a doll. Like I can guarantee you, this Raggedy Ann doll does not have wires in its legs for them to be bent in the middle, where there is not a seam. For one,
Yeah.
it's a whole bunch of cotton in a tube, basically, in a
Yep.
fabric tube. And if you bend that, I can guarantee you, unless you're going to put pressure on it for a crazy amount of time, you know,
Oh yeah.
think about bending a pillow. Like, if you like bend a pillow in half, it's going to pretty much so go straight back to
Yeah.
being
It's
like,
just gonna flop right
unless you're
back
gonna
out.
like shove your head on it as soon as you fold it.
Hmm.
So the fact that there's a rag doll that's unsettling in a chair, kneeling, facing a door of all things,
Yep. The door to come into the apartment.
and was on a chair.
Hmm.
You know, how many people have tried to put a stuffed animal on a chair and it's been all like,
Yeah.
especially like a rag doll. Like, there's just I don't know. I don't know what some of these people are thinking. I guess it's just they didn't have as much media about this stuff, or like as much of it being commercialized as it is now. But I feel like personally, if I came home and there was a motherfucking rag doll or stuffed toy in my house that's not meant to sit up, sitting up in a kneeling position, I'd be like, you're going in the trash. Like, not
Yeah.
even the trash in my house. I'm gonna walk you 10 blocks down the street and throw
To
you
the
in a
dumpster.
garbage can.
Yeah. To the
Okay?
dumpster
Like,
behind the McDonald's.
yeah. Like, I just feel like I ain't even gonna let another kid get a hold of you. Use is going to the landfill. Or you're gonna find yourself in a box.
Yeah.
A box that's not in my house with all kinds of salt and whatever else in it,
Hmm.
buried 20,000 miles away from where I live in the dirt.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't know. I'd love to be these people and them just being all like, ah, nah. So, there's just some prank going on here. There's no way the doll moved.
But yeah, so when Deirdre moved the doll and then tried to recreate the kneeling position it was in, the doll simply flopped over as a rag doll should, like just like we were just talking about.
As one would expect.
And this led Deirdre and her roommate and the roommate's boyfriend to conclude that some kind of force must have been holding it there. And things only got weirder from there. Random notes written on parchment paper in pencil began to appear around the apartment, reading "Help us" and "Help Cal." The roommates didn't know of any emergency relating to the notes, so they were really confused about it. They also didn't keep pencils or parchment paper in the house.
Magical notes.
Yeah. And so that's when they began to wonder if somebody was breaking into their apartment to prank them. And they did everything they could think of to try to find out if somebody was breaking into their apartment.
Could you
And
just
this
imagine this happening nowadays? Like this scenario,
everybody with their security systems and all that jazz.
like there'd be some online operator that would get a motion sensor in a house,
Yep.
and
And they just see a doll
they'd be
floating
watching this
across.
monitor, and they just see this doll like get up, scoot across the floor, get in a kneeling position on a chair, and they just be like, "Ain't nobody gonna believe this motherfucking bullshit."
Oh yeah.
I don't know why
Like
I had to put so many curse words in it. But you just know that would be the idea. Like, that's exactly the strain of words that
oh
would
yeah.
go through somebody's head.
Oh yeah.
Like, because, these people have seen people break into people's houses, so they're not
Oh yeah.
spooked easy. But
Yeah.
just seeing a children's toy, like, move across the room on its own and get down in a kneeling position, like, what?
The fuck did I just see?
What?
So anyway, Deirdre and her roommate put down like marks in front of like doors and all the windows, and they
As
even went
one
as
would.
far, yeah, to as far as to rearrange their furniture, like just to see if they could like find any sign that somebody was breaking in, and none of their marks were disturbed, none of their furniture was disturbed, and they were just baffled. They never found any trace of break in.
It's astonishing. On
Yeah.
like, I know I'm saying, like, why would they keep it or whatever, but
Yeah. I mean, it was just a nice little gift from
I guess the
Deirdre's
thought
mom.
process would kind of be at that rate, like, okay, well, at this rate, it's done nothing but move, and
Yeah.
while it can't be explained, how harmful is a doll that gets up and walks on its own?
But yeah, even though there was no evidence of a break in, the Raggedy Ann doll continued to move from room to room and change position. And one day, Deirdre returned home to find the doll's hands covered in something that she could only determine to be blood. And there were three more splashes of blood on its chest. This is when the roommates decided to contact a psychic for help.
Okay, I have like a little thing on this,
Yeah.
or well, I have a thought on this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it at this point is only doing like minimal things,
Yeah.
and this is something that's like just lying in wait to do something worse,
Mm-hmm.
I I get the idea of, oh, let's call a psychic, and I do get that, but depending on what you believe, either you believe in none of it, in which case, none of these people can do what they say, or
Yeah.
you believe that some of them can and some of them can't.
Mm-hmm.
Either is valid. I'm not shaming anybody. But would that not maybe piss off whatever it is slightly more? Because the idea in my head would be, well, if it is something and we call the psychic, will it think we're trying to get rid of it? And will that make it worse?
That's
That's how my brain works.
that's a valid
You
concern.
know, which I get it. If random notes that said help me" started appearing, and obviously if they were concerned about it being somebody breaking in, it obviously wasn't notes by doors by any means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if it were like simply a note that was in front of their door when they got home,
Yeah. Oh,
they would have
somebody
thought
slid it
somebody
under.
slid it under the door.
Yeah.
Like that would have been especially with these people who were so methodical to move their furniture and put tape on the floor like they're
Mhm.
hosting some stage production of Wicked. Like, you know, it's just one of those things. It's like I applaud, but yet also in a way scrutinize the decision
Oh yeah.
to call a psychic. Like it's a very loaded, I feel like, personally.
Yeah.
Personally, I feel like it's a very loaded, this is either going to go pretty good or terrible. And a lot of times when it's paranormal stuff, there's no in between. It's either made it better, made it worse.
Yep. So after they got this psychic to their apartment, the psychic claimed to channel the spirit of a 7-year-old girl who used to play in the area before the apartments were built. And when she died, she haunted the field and then the lonely apartments until the two young women brought the doll, and then she finally had something to play with again. And through the psychic, the spirit of the little girl asked if she could live in the doll, and Deirdre and her roommate, touched by the story, gave the spirit permission to do so.
Mistake number one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if it was something, the thing about most bad paranormal, whatever you want to call them, because I don't
Hmm.
believe all of them are beings, okay?
Yeah.
They will manipulate you to think whatever they can, whatever they can, to get you to give them permission to do things.
Oh.
And if this is honest to God what happened, I don't know why I said that because my religious beliefs are like not that. But
Skepticism is healthy.
mm, but it, like, okay, like I do the story, but that part sets me off
Yeah.
because demons, otherworldly beings, whatever,
Mhm.
not always human. I've seen some pretty sketch shit from. Okay, we'll get into that story in a second. But they will manipulate you. If you're using a Ouija board, if you're contacting them in any way, and you give them permission to talk to you or to possess something or to even move something, your word of permission and what seemingly got these girls to say, oh yeah, they were told it was a little girl,
Mhm.
you know. And the fact that it was a psychic and not a medium that told them this is also like a, well, because they're different.
Yeah.
They're different. You know, that kind of gets me too because it could have just as easily lied to the psychic as anything else. Not saying it couldn't fool a medium either, but like they gave whatever it was permission to be in that doll. And giving it permission is giving it more power. I think as we will see. So that's where my both applaud and scrutiny of them calling a psychic comes into play.
Right.
Because I feel like they did more harm than good with their decision
Oh
there
yeah.
because just because it was a field or whatever, they don't know the people that lived in those apartments and what they did before them or what the
Mhm.
people that was on that land before them had done. Because I am almost willing to guarantee you what is in that doll
Yeah.
is not a child.
Yeah. It
Because a
is.
child would not do
It is most certainly a demon,
that.
according to Ed and Lorraine Warren. And you are absolutely right. Shit did get worse from there.
Well, of course, you just gave it more power. What? You gave it power and a home.
Uh huh. And what is worse, the two young women began to treat the doll like a living person.
Mm-hmm. So, in which case is giving it more power.
Uh huh.
Like people need to take into consideration that, and I'm not saying that all haunted objects or dolls or whatever
Mhm.
are bad
Yeah.
or demons or whatever. But I am saying that when you give something permission, most often when you're giving a permission of anything, if it is tricking you to get the permission,
Mhm.
it's probably not what you think it is.
So obviously, the roommate's boyfriend Cal thought that this was a terrible idea and said as much to the girls.
Applaud.
Oh
Applaud to
yeah.
the brave soul that has a brain.
Oh yeah. But later that night, whenever he was sleeping over with his girlfriend, he awoke to see the doll levitating towards him, and
Okay,
then it began to attempt to strangle him.
okay. I'm not writing that off as funny because I'm
Yeah.
sure in real life that would have been absolutely terrifying. Okay, absolutely terrifying. But can you picture in your brain for a split moment if they would have actually used a Raggedy Ann doll in the Annabelle movies and it would have levitated with its arms a dangling towards this
And
dude
its head flopping.
and its head, kind of flopping and the hair, doing its thing. And then the little
Little mitten
the
hands.
little mitten hands just it's still like I'll be the first to say I'd be like, nope, I'd be done. I saw any kind of doll floating across
Oh
the room,
yeah.
but just the
Oh
imagery I think of it is what made me giggle. I was not being disrespectful, I promise.
yeah. And apparently it took him some time to fight the doll off.
Again,
Whatever was inside the doll was very, very strong. He had a hard time moving it. He had a hard time pushing it away. He was struggling.
and most spirits and paranormal things, you hear the fact that they only have so much energy, and that is why they drain electronics. That is why they do this and that. That is why if they move something, usually it takes a specific amount of time to move something else, to do something else. Of course, there are things that are stronger, but the fact that it took him a considerable amount of time and that he actually had to fight to
Oh
get
yeah.
it off of him, 100% guarantee you what they let have free reign of that and treated like a person and all this other not only gave it power, but they invited something much, much worse into their home when they did that.
And there was another night that Cal was alone in the apartment with his girlfriend, and they heard a thump. And Cal, bravely or stupidly, however you want to view it, went to investigate the noise. Saw was the doll seemingly tossed into a corner.
I'm gonna say stupidly
Yeah.
because he came back to that place. Like, okay,
Oh yeah.
after that experience and knowing that there's a doll there and telling your significant other, the person you have feelings for, the person that whatever, you love, you've spent so much time with, after telling them you don't like the doll, that you don't like that they're treating it like a person, and then the thing attacking you in the middle of the night, but you being all
And
like,
you
you know
come back
what,
over.
I'll come back over. I'd be like, no, you can come visit me. Or you can get rid of the doll. Or how about we get our own apartment?
Yeah.
Let's just move and we'll leave the doll here. So
But
it's like something
whenever
chucked the
Cal
doll.
found,
Like
yeah,
basically,
like the
like
doll was just
okay,
like, it seemed like it's tossed into a corner. And suddenly, once he sees this, what is that? Oh, your niffler. I was like, what the fuck is that little nose? Like I thought his nostrils were eyeballs.
okay. For people that are listeners that can't see this, because we don't do this for YouTube yet. I have a stuffed Niffler because I'm a Harry Potter fan, and he's kind of hard to see like against my backdrop because I have like
Yep.
this cool galaxy backdrop, and my lighting's
And
a
your
little
chair
off
is
tonight.
black behind
Yeah, and
you.
my gaming chair is black. Um, but I grabbed my little Niffler to like make Annabelle jokes like across the screen at Echo while she talked, like make him float and stuff. But I held him up to my face where his nose was where my nose was, and it really confused her.
Oh yes.
I thought of this because I scared myself with the Niffler the other day because he sits on the corner of my desk, and when the room is half
Uh-huh.
lit, or not on the corner of my desk, on the corner of my bookshelf that faces my desk, where I
Mhm.
keep like my microphone and stuff, and it's not over here. He sits facing it, so that guy can look over at him and stuff while I'm doing stuff. And it was like half lit in here the other day, and I was walking through, and I guess he got bumped in the morning, so he was facing the opposite direction. And I'm saying he got bumped because I'm like almost 100% sure because this thing is almost new, and
Yeah.
also the bookshelf is not like 100% stable. Like it's not even a bookshelf. It's like a
That
four.
makes sense.
It's like a three shelf like plastic tubing shelf that you would just use for like snacks and notebooks and stuff. And that's why
Yeah.
he's my only collectible on it because if he falls off, he's fine.
Nothing's gonna get
But
hurt there.
he was turned the other direction. Okay, and the sniffler, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's kind of like a fuzzy platypus that's all black with a bill, and the bill is like
Mhm.
tan, and he's got little beady black eyes, and
Which they blend right in with his black fur and
pretty
your
much.
black chair.
And he was like faced in this direction, and the room was like partial lit because of the TV. And I was like, ah, because I was getting ready in the morning. So I scared myself with my own doll.
Oh my god.
Here you go, Niffy. I need to put something in his pocket so maybe he doesn't scare me as much. Like, oh yeah, that's my Niffler. Anyway, side story done.
Yeah. So after Cal found the Raggedy Ann doll seemingly tossed in her, he suddenly is doubled over in pain. And
Did it
he
get
is bleeding
scratched?
profusely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, 7 deep scratches on his abdomen.
That again reassures me that whatever they've invited is because just because you invite it to live in the doll doesn't mean it can't manifest somewhat outside of the vessel that you give it. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously this has to be something that we would call not necessarily that it 100% is this, but as humans we would call it
Yeah.
demonic. Just because
Yeah,
like
we would definitely
7 deep
consider
scratches.
that.
That's
Mhm.
usually it's like 3 or 4, but like 7, man, that had some like
Mhm.
animosity or something towards him.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was just, guys, don't treat this thing like a person. That's weird. And then he's the only one getting attacked.
Probably because whatever it
Uh-uh.
was, by being treated like a person, consider that to be in a way.
Hmm.
I'm not saying this is what they were doing, but treating something like that as a person is almost in a way like to something like that is probably considered almost worshiping it kind of because you're
Yeah.
you're giving a doll and they're treating it like a human. They're giving it power and all of that. And it probably felt like he was trying to take that from it. I can't imagine. Like, okay, first he almost gets choked to death by a Raggedy Ann. Then he
Mhm.
thinks, going back again isn't a bad idea. But now I'm
Yeah,
bleeding.
this is fine. Obviously, Annabelle is becoming more dangerous, and all of them, including Deirdre, started to feel like their lives were in danger from this Raggedy Ann doll.
You
Uh,
don't
so
say.
from there, yeah. So from there, they contacted their local priest, and the priest contacted his supervisor, and then they passed the information on to Ed and Lorraine Warren. So the Warrens went and investigated the cause of the incident to be demonic infestation. Um, and they even said that if they hadn't reached out when they did, the entity probably would have killed one of them in a week. So they had the apartment exorcised, and Deirdre requested that the Warrens take the doll with them. Ed and Lorraine placed the doll on the back seat of their car on the way home, and in no time at all, the demon began to take its toll on their journey.
So that doesn't surprise me because it seems like it is taking energy from them
Yeah.
in a lot of way, and I honestly believe I know exactly which one it would have taken out of the picture. And honestly, it doesn't surprise me that
Yeah.
its idea was because it had already made life attempts, and it
Mhm.
seemed to only be getting stronger because it started with trying to strangle, then it went to
Mhm.
claw marks, which is deep. And did it say how deep they were, or was it just
It just said that they were bleeding pretty good.
bleeding? Okay.
So I'd say fairly decent if they were bleeding.
Uh huh. And then usually things only tend to get stronger, especially when it's being fed. Because now, not only is it being fed by the energy that they were giving it, it's also
Mhm.
being fed by fear.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful combination. That's a powerful combination to give something like that, in my opinion. And I believe other people will state that. Not that my opinion matters a whole bunch. I'm not an expert, as one should
Yeah.
say. Does it say exactly like some of the stuff that happened on their road trip?
Yes.
I was curious
So
about that.
yeah. So on their way home, their car stalled several times and caused several near fatal accidents, and also caused Ed to completely lose control of the car a couple times.
So it sounds to me like it wasn't happy, it was being transported. It
Yeah.
found who it wanted and it wanted to stay there.
Mhm.
But because they had given it permission to be there for one and to also be inside the doll for two,
Mhm.
it it's now attached to that. It doesn't have a
Oh yeah.
say. It can try to fight back. Obviously, it sounds like it did, but it kind of signed its own, like, well,
I
this
guess I'm
seems
stuck in
fun.
this thing now. So when the Warrens got Annabelle to their home, Ed placed her in a chair next to his desk. And it didn't take long before they were beginning to report that she was levitating and teleporting around the house as well. Lorraine even reported hearing loud, reverberating growls through the house while she was home alone, and they ended up calling a priest to come and examine the doll again. This priest teased the doll, which was terrible idea. He teased saying that she couldn't do any harm because she was just a rag doll. Ed warned him never to say anything like that again, and
Did you?
Lorraine
Sorry.
warned him to be very careful while driving home because she sensed danger for him on the
Just him teasing and then them like reprimanding him for teasing. Could
road.
you imagine those two meeting Zach
Yeah.
from Ghost Adventures? Could you
Oh my god.
imagine them meeting
They would
paranormal
hate
investigators
him.
nowadays?
They would hate him
They'd
so
be like,
much.
"Don't you say that to ghosts!
Oh my god. You fool, they would say.
You
Oh
done
man.
goofed."
Yep.
No, no, that's all. Like, I mean, I didn't mean to interject, but that
You're
image, just
fine.
the way that they were
Oh
reprimanding the
yeah.
priest, just made me think of
Oh yeah.
that. Like how much they would get at like paranormal. I wonder how they'd feel about the Phasmophobia game.
I bet they wouldn't like that either. But I don't know. I don't know them from Adam.
I'm just like, it was just a random train of thought. But yeah, I I could just like it kind of sounds like when people mock Robert the doll. Like
Yeah.
you mock it, that shit's gonna happen.
Yeah. So Lorraine, like I said, had warned the priest to be very careful on his drive home because I guess she had a gift. I don't know if you call it like a gift of premonitions or what, but she sensed danger
Hmm.
and she was right to warn him to be careful on the road because that priest did total his car on his way home in a near fatal crash because his brakes had failed. And only one death has been actually attributed to Annabelle the doll. And then from there, the documentary goes on to tell that
Hmm.
there is very little like actual documented evidence of this tale. There are even like several other like places where like the story is told where Deirdre's name is something completely different, like Donna, or I think there was one other. Um, and it's hard to confirm for sure that these three people involved in the story even existed at all. And they also question whether the Warrens conducted enough of an investigation or if they are guilty of constructing the whole hoax as well. But I mean, like I said before, skepticism is healthy and everybody should have their own opinions about. I personally think that they seemed to be fairly genuine people,
Hmm.
but you know, again, I don't know them from Adam, but they they seemed fairly genuine and they just seemed like they were pretty knowledgeable in the paranormal field.
Well, and the fact that you have people that seem to have not known them because those people didn't go straight to Ed and Lorraine.
Yeah,
Those people went to a priest first. It sounds like they went through channels. So I
yeah,
don't know that if they, I'm not saying that okay, because I don't know them. And I'm not going to like preach on knowing things that I don't 100% know
yeah,
because you know me and how I am. I'm not saying that they didn't maybe construct, but they might along the way have constructed one
yeah,
or whatever. I don't think they constructed this one
yeah.
because if they did, why would their son, who has possession of Annabelle now, be so deathly afraid of it?
Well, it could be that
If they
they
constructed
had it.
this,
Yeah, it could be though that they had it while he was growing up and taught him to be afraid of it.
I mean maybe, but I just
But
on this incident, and
mhm,
what other people have experienced, and what I have seen, like we've seen the real doll like on
yeah,
TV,
yeah,
and like that whole thing gave a vibe. Like
yeah,
at least to
for sure.
me,
Yeah,
it gave a vibe, and I don't. If they did construct one along the way that caused this whole thing of oh they were frauds,
yeah.
which people are always
Everybody's
gonna call,
entitled.
yeah,
They're entitled to
everyone
their
is entitled to
opinions.
their opinion, and everyone is always gonna find a person in a position of power and say that there's something, it's a fraud, or there's something about it, or you know that they're a fraud, or
Yeah,
whatever. And who knows? Maybe along the way they might have constructed one for
right.
whatever reason. But to me personally, and what I've heard and what I've like seen in that one video that we had seen with the doll,
Hmm.
and in the vibe that I got from it all, this one this one was not constructed. And like you hear stories about people who go to the museum and mock the doll and then
Hmm.
things happening.
Yeah,
Like people even now, and yeah, accidents happen, and yeah, sometimes it could be a coincidence if one person mocked it left and something happened,
yeah.
but the fact that you have several people that come back and apologize or whatever
Hmm.
speaks kind of wonders to it all. And
Yeah,
I
for
did look
sure.
it up, and it does say that Lorraine Warren was like had clairvoyant
Yeah.
experiences as a child, and she was somewhat clairvoyant, at least to the knowledge that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, you know what? At some point, maybe we'll look more into Ed and Lorraine and see what they've done.
Yeah, that would
Um,
be really interesting to find out more about their lives and more about the cases that they've investigated and all that stuff.
Now, I did read an article. I know this was Echo's topic, but I'm guilty of always interjecting with my own ramblings and being annoying. I think she just
No,
lives with
not
it.
annoying.
So who remembers the nice old scare in 2020? You know, I should be more specific because there were plenty of scares in
Oh yeah.
2020 when it was believed that Annabelle escaped, that Annabelle got out of her cage. Now it was a hoax. It was proven. It was proven. Ed and Lorraine Warren's son, and I forget his name, and I should probably be respectful and look it up. He created a YouTube video showing that she was still in her cage shortly after the whole rumor started spiraling out
Yeah.
of complete and utter control. I'm looking up his name real quick so that I can
Okay.
be respectful. Okay, it's their son-in-law, Tony,
Okay.
I think. Who has Annabelle? That's maybe what I should type in. Because maybe it is, and I should retract that and say that it is their son-in-law. So even more, if because
Yeah,
he
because he
didn't
wouldn't
grow
have.
up,
Yeah, he didn't grow up with the doll in the house.
he didn't grow up with the doll in the house. So then even more so.
Yeah.
Hold on before I say too much that's wrong. Tony Spira,
Hmm.
um, and he is the Warren son-in-law. He is a paranormal researcher. He is now the museum curator. Since they have passed, he is the one that took Annabelle to see Zach and all of them. So
Okay.
that even more puts it in my head that it is not a hoax. Because why would somebody who has no stake in the family, right? Other than being the son in law, he didn't grow up being taught to fear it. Why would he be so scared of the doll if he didn't honestly believe there was something to all
Yeah.
of it? Okay. He quickly took to YouTube in the museum showing Annabelle in her case. Like,
Yeah.
Annabelle did not escape. She is right here. And he also says that she's nothing to play with. Okay. She's not a
Yeah.
toy. So there is a lady named Miss Kate Blowers. She lives in Arizona and she investigates haunted items and safely rehomes the haunted dolls through her Etsy shop. That is not an invitation. Listen to me right now. Yes, I'm
Do
talking to
not.
you. That is
Do not.
not an invitation to buy a haunted doll. And if you do so, I will be very cross with you. I'm talking to you like you're a kindergarten. You deserve it if you think that you need the haunted doll. No. In her opinion, if Annabelle was to have gotten out, she would be she would go back to doing the exact same time of hauntings that it was confirmed that she had done in the past. The only difference being now, because she has so much so much attention from around the living world. So many of us know her, like know her name, say her name, whatever. And it's not just saying the name Annabelle; it's saying the name Annabelle in accordance to this doll, like
Hmm.
talking about the doll, giving the doll attention, putting the doll out there. Okay, that would make it stronger. That's what that does. And it's kind of like when they say, fear of a name incites fear of itself. Part of that might have came from Harry Potter. Deal
Hmm.
with it. But it would have been worse. Okay, if Annabelle would have gotten out, would have continued the same type of hauntings, would have been worse because Annabelle is now stronger. Which is probably why it was so easy for the doll, in my opinion. I'm not, if you want to believe it was, staged or whatever, when the Ghost Adventures crew got to meet Annabelle, whatever, personal beliefs aside, I'm talking about mine. I
Hmm.
believe that the strength that, Annabelle has gotten from all this attention and whatnot around the world is what it made it so easy. And I'm going to just call Annabelle she because,
Yeah.
name. Um, what made it so easy for her to manipulate Zach into actually touching her
Oh yeah.
after he promised he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe this man would have promised,
Yeah.
not to do
If he
such a
didn't
thing.
fully intend to keep his
It,
promise about that.
yeah, okay, and I believe that's he it somehow because of the power it now has. That's most likely what happened. There was some manipulation there.
Yeah.
Um, and Blowers says that Annabelle would probably try to find another weak soul, like a child, or someone who, and then this is in quotation marks, is otherwise not strong enough to fight off her energy. And that's what we mean about paranormal things being attracted to people who are children, who are, fatal, like deathly ill and things like
Yeah.
that, have a fatal illness, you know, all of their strength is going to fighting other things. They don't have the strength to fight off the energy that some of these paranormal things give off.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole process would start all over again. And they do believe that the rumor happened because of you know the fact that they're working on Annabelle 4 or whatever, and that there were interviews going on and things such as that.
Makes sense that they would try to pop up a hoax like that if they're getting ready to make another
Mhm.
Annabelle movie.
Now, here's the thing that gets me the most. Okay, because what what Blowers is saying is indefinitely true,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna read it word for word from this article because it really spoke to me on a level. And I think it's important for people to realize, okay? So some spirit items do go dormant. They do, eventually just, you know, but I don't think Annabelle ever will, she said.
Yeah. I mean,
We feed her with every article,
uh huh.
every glance,
Yep.
every time we type her name.
Yep.
She's getting that energy and she will never stop feeding off of that.
Yep.
And with that being said, in a way, we're feeding it by doing this podcast.
Yeah.
In a way we shouldn't, in a way it should just be forgotten, but as things often are that are terrible and horrifying, they never really are forgotten because
Yeah.
there are always people drawn to the innately crazy.
Oh yes.
And that being said, I mentioned earlier that I have seen some shit with my own eyes. I will tell one instance, and for that I have to ask Echo because I do not remember. Did you go with me to the Seymour Library to meet? I wish I could remember their names. It was a Indiana couple that are paranormal investigators. Did you go to the library with me for that?
I don't think I did.
Okay. Well, I went. The wife is a medium, and the husband has been, as most often cases, with paranormal investigators, something in their childhood drove them to it. Something
Hmm.
weird and innately not from this, you know, plane of existence,
Yeah.
led them down the path that they're on now. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I've experienced shit. Lots of people have experienced weird shit. Here I am talking about Annabelle, and now my Twitter feed has Annabelle on it. Thanks, you guys. How'd you know?
You because you were on the Google machine about
I was
Annabelle.
on the Google machine. Yeah, that is right. But anyway, I was at this talk that they were giving, and they were talking about how they were going to pretty much show stop that this was going to be their last like public speaking event for a while, and that they weren't going to investigate as much for a while and just take a break from some of it. and they were just talking about it and all that, and they were like, we're gonna show you some stuff that they don't show on TV, and footage that we have. And you can tell when footage has been doctored for the most part. And
Mhm.
I can tell you, these two were older people. They were not my age, and that is not saying that they could not have done this. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say they couldn't have, but in my opinion, and the way that the video made me feel, this was not staged. Because one of the biggest things that I've always been told, or I've always heard from people, is that when you think spirit, you think human spirit, and not all spirits and not all things that hide in the dark are what you picture them to be. They're not all people, they're not all people shaped, what have you. And this little thing, and I remember it a lot because there's a story that I'm not going to share that somebody that I've came to know, they've seen something like this in their house and it's attacked them. And that's not my story. That's not my story to share. And that's what makes me honestly believe the footage I've seen, because the thing they described, and they didn't go to this,
Yeah.
the thing they described was exactly what I saw in this footage, and this footage was not on TV. It was probably, I don't know, 2, 3, I want to say maybe 2.5 foot tall. And the best way to describe it is like a dark, tiny, goblin looking creature.
Wow.
And it, like, as quick as like a flash. It was barely on the screen for a very long time. It was like in the tote, out of the tote, gone, or out of the bin. It might have been a bin,
Mm.
like a trash bin.
Yeah.
Um, Not 100% sure because it was dark, but you could clearly make out this thing, and it unnerved me
Oh yeah.
to a specific degree, and not because it was creepy looking. Like, I see creepy looking stuff all the time. I played Blair Witch on stream and stuff jumped out and I laughed,
Yeah.
which people thought was weird, but that's me. Um, but it was a thing, and I believe what I saw was real. So that puts something behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I'm like, everyone is entitled. That's what I want to push the most, and that's what we tend to like say. Everyone is entitled to believe what they want. Everyone is allowed to think what they want, believe what they want. Uh, as long as you're not hurting other people. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe Annabelle is haunted, then that's for you to decide. I'm not going to argue with you. Okay.
Mhm.
My only thing is if you believe something else, don't mock or antagonize or do something that's going to make the people that actually believe that this thing is real. Don't do something to upset them, because if you were in front of me and you were mocking this haunted doll because you didn't believe it was haunted and I believed it was,
Mhm.
then in a way, not only are you putting yourself in what I believe is danger,
Yeah.
I also feel like I'm going to witness something, for one, and for two, it's very, how do I put it? It's very rude
Mhm.
and disrespectful to one's beliefs, because I wouldn't sit there and argue with you that it is real. Okay, so don't stand in front of me and mock the item. Okay,
Yeah.
and I want to put that we want people to be free to feel what they want or believe what they want when it comes to stuff like this, but also say that you know don't don't mock the people that do believe, because this is a really good, I think, episode to bring this up in, because we needed to talk about it anyway, that we think everyone's free to believe what they want, because eventually we will cover unsolved mysteries that have happened, and
Mhm.
uh unsolved mysteries, and like oh, what is the word I'm searching for and cannot find in my
Cold
head?
cases.
Well, not just cold cases, but like conspiracies, which do sometimes tie in to unsolved mysteries or greatest mysteries or whatever.
Yeah.
We talk about folklore, we talk about, cryptids, we talk about a lot of stuff. And, everyone's beliefs should be valued at a rate as long as you are not being racist and harmful or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not welcome here. That's our rule. That is not welcome here, okay? Everyone is valued, but if you're gonna be bad, I'm gonna throw the remote at you, okay? That's just how it works. I don't know why I'm shaking my light remote like people can see it. Not that this would hurt if I chucked it either.
I mean, it might though.
I mean,
If
if I
it
can
hits on the
hit it on a
corner.
corner.
Yeah. I dropped my Zune on my toe once. I lost that toenail.
But yeah, and we say that because next week I'm gonna bring a very interesting topic that I don't think really fits into. I always bring the weirdest ones, like why do you leave me in charge? um,
Because you know how to do the thing.
I do know how to spark controversy. Thank you. No, we're gonna be talking about a place that has a little bit of folklore, might have a little bit of like weird mystery to it, might have a bit of conspiracy theory going on with it. We're going to talk about a real interesting thing. All thanks to Miss Echo sending me a freaking TikTok that was only probably a minute long in all reality, but me going, oh no, you know what? This needs to be a thing.
I mean, it did look very interesting. Are you going to give him a teaser on what this place is called? Or are you just going to make him wait till next time?
You know what? Let me get a good teaser. Okay, if I'm going to give a teaser, I want people to think.
All right.
Because telling them the actual name, that's too good. It's in Ohio, so it's in a neighboring state, and I'm gonna just give them this little blurb. First off, it's an abandoned village that has like a really colorful name now to explain it. And this little blurb at the top of this one article that I have saved says the tragic reality of a town riddled with rumors of hauntings, chemical spills, and serial killers.
So intrigued.
Maybe, some human experiments. Lots of stuff going on here. Lots of time. Hopefully, a relatively okay length episode. I don't want you guys sitting here for 4 hours listening to me ramble because Lordy knows I could do so. I you guys think I'm joking. I entertain on Twitch for 6 hours at a time sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You guys get the cut version of me. Okay, they have to deal with the full version and the voices and echo giggles because I do a really annoying voice that one of our friends absolutely despises. But yeah, so that should be interesting. If you want to follow us at Instagram, it is strange, weird, and unforgettable. I think that's the at, right? It's at strange, weird, and unforgettable. Yeah, on Instagram. That is the Instagram. Now, if you want to tweet at us or get us on the Twitter, it is strange, weird, UN1 because our name is Butts Long. Um, we are on the Facebook, the Book of Faces. Under Strange, Weird, and Unusual podcast. You can find us there. If you're looking for information, I can tell you that we haven't been too good on the Twitter or the Facebook as of late, but there's information there, and it'd be really easy if you wanted to get a hold of us and tell us something. It'd be really easy to do it on one of those two things.
Oh yeah.
If you do want to get a hold of us, get a hold of us either through Facebook, through Twitter, or through our email at swustories@hotmail.com. You can send us reader tales that you would want us to share. You can send us ideas for episodes. You can tell us how good we're doing. Please don't tell us how bad we're doing because believe me, we know. And the reason I'm telling you guys that if you want to get a hold of us, that Twitter, Facebook, or the email is the best is because I have a heck of a time getting in to the Instagram messages. So please, please, please send it to the Facebook, to Twitter, or to email, just so that I'm not sitting here pulling my hair out.
Slide into our DMs, but just not on Insta.
Yeah, just not on Insta because I had someone get on my personal Instagram and send me a message. It's my personal slash like Twitch Instagram. It's kind of combined because Twitch is a little more. On Twitch, I do like more personal things. Like I give a whole like believe me, you guys get 100% of my personality here too. But our Instagram doesn't need to be full of my face. Just saying. But somebody sent me a message on there, and I had a heck of a time getting into it. And they apologized afterwards, and I'm like, no, it's cool. I got into it. It's just hard to get into on here. So feel free to reach out to us, but please make sure it is on the Twitter, the Facebook, or the email. Uh, we sometimes make TikToks, but not all the time. We do have a TikTok page. If you see it with our clips from our podcast, that is us. It's not someone else, I promise. If you see somebody acting, though, it is not us. Oh. I did. Yeah, no. Although, you know what? If you want to dress up as a Caliconsery and
put a colander on your head,
on a colander that's on your head, please at me with that shit.
Absolutely.
I want to see it. Call to action. Feel free to follow us. Make sure you follow us. Kind of both. Feel free to, and please do, on whatever website you're listening to this podcast with your ear holes. Yeah.
Drop us a review.
Drop us a review. Please be kind. We know we're idiots.
We're just idiots who do our best.
If you want to see my face, but I doubt you do. As pre-stated, and I feel like I should say it since you guys know I'm a streamer and I've said that a couple times. And it would be unfair to not share all, I guess, on the podcast. It would be unfair to not share all of the content that I personally make with you all. That would be rude. You guys might not be into it. I play games on the Twitch TV. So twitch.tv, and I am Scarlet Gear on there. There's a picture of my face. This is my profile picture right now. It is full of red pandas. That's how you know you've made it to the right spot. If you see space and pandas, red pandas specifically. So space and red pandas equals right spot. That goes mostly there in the chat. If you're not into gaming, you don't have to come. I'm just telling you, if you're curious, that's what I've been doing. Not that that's more important than you. It just unexpectedly became slightly important in the fact of potential money making so that I can focus more on this and that. We did play Blair Witch on there though, and that was heckin' fun. Any more news for this strange, weird, and unforgettable group, Echo?
Not unless anybody wants me to brag about my new boyfriend.
No, stop it.
I know. Everybody in my life is so sick of hearing about how excited I am that I have a boyfriend.
So gross. Stop.
Love is disgusting, guys. Don't do it.
I bought a whole bunch of books today for $15 for my deposit.
That is so exciting.
I know. It's all content, believe me.
Yes.
If anybody has any really good true crime books that aren't like the big cases, please. This is another call to action. Please, please, please. Tweet me the names of the books with the author, or send us an email, or send me a message on Twitter, or send us a message on Facebook. Please. We don't cover a whole lot of true crime here. I believe there are some really good people on YouTube and in the podcast realm that do. But if there's like mysterious ones or things like that, or just something that we seem to find interesting, you know, we might cover it on here. Plus, I like to read and fill my head with useless knowledge, so that would be incredible to me. Please and thank you. If you have any really good books, like in general, folklore, cryptids, ghosts, whatever, send us your recommendations. Echo and I read a ton. Like, it's not
We
an
love
exaggeration.
reading.
Um, if we're not reading a book with our eyes, we're listening to a book. That's part of the reason I'm kind of hoping that my goal for this year is to, by August, on be a sub and working mostly from home, so that I can up the content for you guys, I can up the content for my stream, and I can still get back on the knowledge wagon of knowledge that nobody really needs to know, but I have in my brain anyway.
Whoop,
Um,
whoop.
if for some reason we were to ever do YouTube or anything like that, believe us when we say you guys are the first to know, especially if it is content that pertains to you guys or content that we would be making on a strange, weird, unforgettable titled YouTube channel. I think right now the distributor for our podcast does put it on um, YouTube, but it's just a blank background so that people on YouTube that might be searching for stuff can listen. But yeah, I think that's about it. As always, if we have more information to give you before next time, or whatever, we'll try to be better about posting. I will try to post pictures of, or at least a meme of Annabelle or something for the podcast. It's kind of hard to post pictures for like well-known stuff
Yeah.
because you guys, you've seen it all. You've seen it all when it comes to Annabelle and things like that. So
Absolutely.
it's sometimes easier to find like folklore or whatever. You guys are great. We we appreciate so much. Those of you that have followed us on Instagram lately, it's been a real confidence boost, successfully, especially since we missed 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
We will get better about being on Sundays. Like I said, there's been a schedule worked out for streaming for right now that I think will work. That allots me time to both record with Echo, edit, and still have a day where I don't do anything.
Yeah.
Because your girl was doing
Too much.
7 days of streaming and 5 days of regular work and trying to fit podcast in, and it was a lot. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah. Scarlett needs to learn to take a break.
no, no, not happening. Stay strange, stay weird, be unforgettable, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.